Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, for checking it out. Of course, you know what to do if you like what you see, what you hear. Hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists. And I'm so excited. Akon is here. Hello.
Yes, sir. What's up, Kyle?
Dude, here you are celebrating the 20th anniversary of one of the biggest albums of all time, one of the most
Um,
celebrated records of all time, with an album that was your introduction to the world. Like, and you've got everything else always going on at the same time. Like, what kind of a headspace are you in right now with the past pulling at you and probably the future pulling at you as well?
yeah, well, right now, believe it or not, I'm actually in full creative mode, man. That's the headspace I'm actually in. We're actually currently working on the new album that we're dropping on the 24th of October in a line of celebrating the 20th anniversary of my first album. So it's like it's a lot going on around me, but it's all in the creative space, man. Such good energy right now.
Yeah, it's to
Yeah.
to work like that, you know. I mean, when you're an artist and you've been around long enough, that's bound to happen. Everything
Yep.
starts to be an anniversary after a little while, you know. But
Right. It's
when
like
you are
every other year
creative,
now is an anniversary to the last record, you know?
right? That's what I'm saying. So when you are creative, when you are, kind of pushing forward, like for some artists, it's kind of it's a nagging, like, oh, I don't like to look back, I don't like to listen to my stuff, and some artists love it. Like I
Right.
remember I laughed so hard. I think there was a rock band. They said anytime our music comes out in the grocery store, they've been around for 20 years too, and they turn around and go, "That's me. I love this."
Yeah. Yeah,
What is
those
it
are
for
real
you?
music
Do you like
lovers.
revisiting?
I mean, I love it. Like me, I'm constantly revisiting. Actually, only thing I play in my car is myself, believe it or not. Like new music, old music,
Mhm.
music that I'm inspired, and it kind of inspires me in different ways. But then a lot of the newer artists that I collaborate with or sign for that matter are always something that inspired me too. You know what I mean? That kind of give me that outlook on my childhood and when the excitement was there for me. But music has always been exciting for me, man. So it's like I never thought music would be what would actually be what saved me at the end of the day. So it's like every time I hear it now, it's almost like this welcoming that comes with it, especially when it's myself.
Yeah. Well, especially looking back, I mean, 2004. Like when you decided to make that jump and you'd been working towards that for a little bit there, you know,
Right.
who did you want to be musically at that point? Like did you feel like that you had a personality?
Actually around that time it was more about survival for me.
Mhm.
Versus who did I want to be or who I admire. It was more about just telling the story that I was currently in at that moment in time and hoping that my story was intriguing enough for people to capture it, hold on to it, be inspired by it, and support. You know what I mean? So the energy and the time zone that was, it was like, man, God, this is my last shot, help me because I do not want to go back to the street. You know what I mean? See, this has to work. You know what I mean? So the last person I was thinking about was who my favorite artist was. I'm just like, I'm hoping that I'm hopefully someone else's favorite artist at this time. So yeah, it was a very interesting time.
Yeah. And that's it, to tell those stories, for that to be the introduction. I mean, you're telling the
Right,
stories of very rough moments of your past,
right.
probably not so distant
Well,
past
present.
even at that
It was
point.
really present, right?
Yeah,
I was literally
right.
just getting out of jail, so locked up was like a thing because I was writing about my experiences. So hadn't I gotten locked up, I would have never wrote about being locked up. And then of course being in jail, wrote Mr. Lonely and Ghetto and Trouble Nobody and all these records that was just coming out of just pure just experience, man. It was like really an interesting time for me, I could definitely say. But before all of that and before the time came, I would probably say my biggest artist at the time that I took full, you could say attachment to was Bob Marley. I always used to love Bob Marley and a lot of the stuff that he was coming up with. And then Michael Jackson was like my idle dream. Like if I could ever one day, if I could choose to be anyone in the world, it would have been Michael Jackson. Without even thinking the fact that he was an artist, just how popular he was and how famous he was and how talented he was. That was something I always wanted to be.
Geez, for any of us that grew up in the 80s and 90s, I
Right.
mean, I watched that. Was it Budapest? Was that the live
Oh my goodness, where he
VHS?
just stood there
Like
for like
wore that out.
5 minutes before even moving. And then when he moved, the fucking place went even
Everybody passed out.
crazier.
He just stood
I was
there and
like,
people
yeah,
passed out. Like
to have
what?
that much crowd control, bro, it's like,
Oh,
what?
to have that kind of
It was,
energy. That's nuts. And
yeah,
then for you later to find yourself working with him, unfortunately, of
yeah,
course, as a told would be the last thing. But what a again a place to get to.
yeah, like just that kind of place to get to, and to think that, okay, life was over, I have no other where to go, to the point of now being in a position where, okay, I'm getting calls from Michael Jackson's people for me to go in the studio with him. It was just like, dude, like you couldn't make this up. Like I don't know what a dream is if that wasn't one. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So
It was just unbelievable, man.
yeah. And then as we were talking about, for those lyrics to have had such an impact, to have landed with fans the way they
Right.
did, but it
Yeah.
also, you know, it gave you a personality in their eyes.
Right.
Here's
Right.
Locked Up, the second
Right.
record is even called Convicted, like did you ever get to a point where you're like, that was me, but I have to be somebody else as well? Like like people grow, people change, that became part of
Right.
a personality that people expected.
Right. But interestingly, with me, I had that idea, that is me, but I do have to change. But me, my motivation for change was out of obligation. And I feel like I was obligated to change because I prayed so much and asked God to just change my direction and future. And if it does, I will become the most different person ever. Just gonna I'm just gonna be the most helpful and the most I would be I would make you say, you know what, I'm happy I created this man and put him on this earth to help change it for the better. Like that's why I think that my direction and how I move and my philanthropy globally and all the things that I do just to create a better environment for mankind stems from me being in such that dark place and being pulled out and saying, okay, I purposely was being pulled out because I had a purpose on this earth that I had to realize. And that became my motivation for even now, even wait, like when you hear this new album and where it goes and where music is today, I feel like I have to come back only because the direction of where music is going is I don't think is helpful. I just believe that it's a lot of misguidance, misinformation, and I think the direction of where we're steering kids at with music today is not helpful. I honestly believe that the content can be a lot more helpful in a way to where, of course, you still want to sing and dance and enjoy it, but it shouldn't feel preachy. But it should feel in a way that it inspires you, to become bigger, better, and actually want to do things that actually just make the world a better place. You know what I mean? I just think that music today is just so ratchet to the point where it's doing more harm than good, honestly.
And so that's what we can expect from the new album. I mean, that's the style of lyrics that you're going for.
Well, it's an energy that I'm going for.
Energy.
I
Okay.
always had this, nostalgic type of vibe to where when you heard my music, it took you back to happy moments in your life, right? It took you back to memories and days of, oh, you know what I mean? And I just feel like music don't do that no more. Like I hear records today and by next week, I don't remember it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like it's not it's like back in the 70s and 80s, especially that 80s rock. I used to love 80s rock, right? Because when I hear that, it gave me a sense of, even though that time music was just so disruptive and it was a high charged energy and you had metal fighting against, punk, and then punk fighting against acoustic, it was a vibe then, but at the
Mhm.
same time, you knew there was so many subgenres within rock music, right? Then hip hop became something very popular. Then there was so many subgenres between hip hop, but the only thing about hip hop was the subgenres wasn't recognized. Then it just became about gangster rap, and then gangster rap just took over like with a sledgehammer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it wasn't really too much of a, okay, cool. They call it backpack rap, which is more like battle rap, and then you got
Mhm.
more melodic type of rap where that's where I came in, where I actually sang about what rappers rapped about. Then that became a little bit more aggressive, but then it just changed to a whole nother level of, now you have you know um what you call drill rap, which is like real. It's like conversations within gangbangers per se, where, okay, one territory would handle something or do something, and then before you know it, someone dies, and then they go back here and then talk about who did what and then who died and who did it. And it was real life stories, like to the point
Right.
where it was so real that the feds was like, yo, we're gonna take rap lyrics and make that part of evidence because it's like, how, what the hell going on?
Right. Listen, and to your points, like even back on this debut record, Untrouble, like as I'm looking at it here, like the difference of emotions, the difference in feeling, the difference in sound when you take something like Locked Up or
Right.
Gangsta, and then like Pot of Gold, you know,
Right. It
like
was
that,
like
which
such a
was always sort of my favorite on the record too, but
me
it's such a
too.
different vibe, you know? It's
Yeah.
like you were all
The
over the place, but it still felt like an album.
it felt like an album because it was a body of work. And I miss those days where you get an album and there's an experience where you go up, down, you cry, you laugh. It's like it's one of those things where it just kind of massaged the emotions in so many different areas and tapped into so many different parts of your life or feelings that you were dealing with at that moment in time. So I know you'll definitely you're definitely gonna get that on this new album for sure, like
Mhm.
you got with all my albums. But I think this album is probably gonna be the most important one because of so much happening. But yet it's a challenge for me to give the message without sounding corny and without sounding preachy, right? But I promise you, I think I nailed it. When you hear this album, it's gonna take you back to happy days again. I promise you.
Cannot wait to hear that. But also, it's
Yeah.
just like seeing how your stuff still resonates. I mean, not just in the way we're talking, but Steve Aoki wanting to redo Locked Up. You guys did the re-record on that
Yeah.
one. You got what's his name? Bazi, who's interpolated Lonely into his song I Still Feel Alone, which in itself had its
Yeah.
own samples. It's like people are still
Right.
grabbing onto your music,
Yeah.
you know.
Interestingly enough, my catalog has been the most redone this year, and last year, and it's been the most shared on TikTok and like the interpolations. I don't know how many of them I cleared this year. Like I'm clearing them all too, by the way, just because I just like my
You're just
music
like,
to spread.
yes.
Hell yeah, do that shit. Like, please, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not that kind of artist that be like, nah, I'm not clearing. I don't want to change the integrity of what I've created. Everything is about I, not realizing the music is to share. Like, you're supposed to spread it and let every culture view it in the way that they see it because we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, and we all kind of translate what we do differently from each other. And I think it's important and it's healthy for us to share it because that ultimate goal of just understanding and that communication that's coming from that person's perspective gives us a better idea of each other. So
Mhm.
yeah, whoever wants to use it in however capacity, bro, I'm wide open. I'll clear everything.
I love that. I love that. And by the way, the Steve Aoki thing was really fun to hear you guys
It
do.
was though.
Yeah.
I love Steve, man. He's a ball of energy. I love Steve Aoki, man.
Yeah, that was fun. Um, I did want to ask about Lonely because of course, it's a classic.
Right.
With the Bobby Vinton sample, the original, what was it you
Uh,
heard in that? Were you like, that's gonna work?
well, interestingly enough, when I sampled it originally for the beat. It was this piano string in the back that I really, really loved. And at the time my keyboard skills wasn't as good. So I said I'm gonna sample it. But then as I'm listening to the song, I'm like, bro, I can actually use his voice as part of the chorus. But I was trying to figure out the best way to chop it up and do it. And as I'm hitting the keys, because at the time I was using the MPC 1200, um, I'm trying to hit the keys, and then I hit the low voice and hit the high pitched voice, and I was like, oh shit, this sounds pretty cool. You know what I mean? So I'm playing with it, and his voice sounded so much better in a higher pitched zone. I said, yo, and not only does it match the tempo where I was at, but actually the voice sounds so much better. So then I just triggered it into the song, and then I just found kind of call and response with that voice to kind of find a way to still fit within the chorus because when I really did it, I wasn't in the chorus. It was just his voice.
Mhm.
But then I was like, no, I got to be in the chorus. I cannot be in the chorus of my own record. So then I found a way to write myself into the chorus to where the sample was still the star of the song. You know what I mean? And it all worked out.
And then look at
Yeah.
you, eventually the sped up version of your of anybody's songs becomes a trend that people are doing.
Yeah.
Like you were a little bit ahead of the curve. That's
Man, you know what I mean? Like, interesting enough, like I kind of watched my career and I realized that everything that we've done just started slowly becoming industry standard. You know, like even like you said, well, how people are chopping up these samples, it became industry standard for like producers and everything like that. And then when I found T-Pain, you know, we added this whole auto tune to him. And that slowly became industry standard where everyone was utilizing that. And then I remember going to Paris way back in, I think it was 2008, when I met this DJ named David Guetta, and he had this record called when I think it was called when the love is gone, right? And me and him had this amazing conversation. I was like, bro, what if you, instead of just taking artists that no one actually knew to put on these records, because that was around the time when house music had these vocalists on there, but you never knew who these vocalists were. It would probably be just some random unattractive person behind the scene with this amazing big voice, but then you would never see them in videos or anything, right? I said, just imagine if we just put A-list artists on these songs, you know? And I know at the time you felt like the challenges was hard because you couldn't get them cleared and everything else. I said, let's just start with me and you. And then from there, we can just get other artists. And that's when we did Sexy Chick. And then before you know it, that blew up and became huge. And now all the other DJs started using A-list artists on records, and that became industry standard for EDM. You know what I mean? So it's like everything we tapped into just slowly became something that everyone utilized. And that's what I love about it. And that's what I go back to sharing, because when you do something that actually works, you want everyone to experiment on it because it grows it into something so much bigger than you. You know what I mean? And it just becomes something that we all can be a part of and enjoy, you know, utilizing throughout the rest of our lives.
I mean, it's a shame you can't get the royalties just off the ideas.
Right. I wish I could patent that idea, right? No A-list artists on EDM records and
mailbox money just for the idea. You know, it's,
you know what I mean?
What you want out there.
Yeah.
Well, I know this deluxe edition Trouble, like 15 bonus tracks. That's not bad. That's pretty incredible. And then you got the Superfan tour. That's continuing. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
still?
that's continuing. We did Superfan Tour US, we did Superfan Tour Europe, and now we're about to do Superfan Tour Asia. And then we're gonna do Superfan Tour Middle East. But coming back to the States, we're gonna actually do the Superfan Fest, which is because the Superfan Tour was just specifically for the first 2,500 to 5,000 superfans, because we didn't put the tickets up for sale and announce it. We didn't do anything. We just put it up for sale without even announcing it. And literally within 24 hours, the tickets were all sold out, but they were only like small venues that held between 100 to 5,000 people. But we got so much hype off of that, and it was so many venues that people couldn't get in and move. I said, okay, next time we do it, we're gonna do it now for the super fans everywhere. We're gonna announce it, create like more of a festival out of it. Not only just me performing, but a lot of my friends that I've worked with and produced throughout the years, and it just become this huge thing. So that's what we're about to announce now. The Superfan Fest is coming soon.
What is that? Are you like here in the state? You're gonna do that?
Yeah, we're gonna do it here in the States. We're gonna do this one here in the States. We're gonna grab all the big amphitheater outdoor venues, you know what I mean?
Awesome.
And just have a ball, man.
Yeah. It's like the old Lollapalooza idea, just kind of bringing
that
back.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I just watched that documentary, so it's fresh in my mind that
you
just
know
came
what I'm saying?
out.
Take it all the way back to Woodstock eventually.
That's right. That's right. So, and then, I mean, you've always got your hand in other things. Like what are you doing out? Are you doing anything outside of the music world, or is that just got you right now?
Yeah, right now the music world has got me, man. Because one thing I noticed about music is that once you get into it, you got to kind of put 100% in it because of such a huge, responsibility for the music levels, idea of it, the concepts, the imaging that comes with it, all the videos that need to be shot that tells the actual story. Narrating a story, it takes a lot of energy. But for the most part, I want to make sure that the fans know that I'm coming back in to give them something that I hope that they really enjoy, and I put a lot of time and energy into it.
October, right?
October 24th, baby. Come looking out for it.
Wait to hear it.
It's about to be crazy.
Yeah, dude, congratulations on seriously a hell of a career. 20 years for Trouble. And it has been such a pleasure and honor to get to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Nah, you too, man. Thank you so much, Kyle. I appreciate you, brother.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All three of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.